The Virulon Palace was unlike anything Captain Elias Vorn had ever seen. Its walls were smooth and alive, glowing with soft green veins that pulsed like quiet heartbeats. Tall pillars reached the high glass ceiling in strange floating lights, followed visitors like silent eyes. It smelled faintly of metal and spice. Elias stood straight, hands at his side, wearing the clean black uniform of Earth's Peace Corps. His boots echoed on the polished floor as the royal guards led him down. The center of the long hall. He tried not to show his nerves. The Virulon Empire was known for its power and its coldness. Humans had only met them during tense trade talks and border warnings. Peace was rare. Trust was even rarer. He was here to stop a war at the end. Of the hall sat Queen Shariah. She wore a flowing dark blue robe with silver threads that moved like water. Her crown was not gold or jewels, but a soft ring of energy that floated above her silver-white hair. Her violet eyes were combote sharp, like they could read thoughts. Elias bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, bring greetings from Earth and the allied systems. I come in peace, to offer a path away from conflict." The hall was silent. The Queen stood slowly, stepping forward. Her tall form moved with grace and power. The guards stiffened. Everyone waited for her response. But something strange happened. Queen Shariah stopped walking. She stared at Elias, his eyes wide, her mouth opened slightly as if she had seen a ghost. Her fingers trembled. "You," she said softly. Her voice shook. Elias looked up confused. "Your Majesty?" The Queen stepped closer, ignoring the shocked looks from her nobles. "I remember you," she said, her voice growing stronger. "Years ago, the jungle, the crash, the fire. It was you." Elias blinked, stunned. "Wait," she said louder. Her tone filled with emotion. "I remember now, you're the one who saved me years ago." Gasps echoed across the throne room. The guard stepped forward in alarm, unsure if the Queen was under some spell or threat, but she raised her hand and stopped them. She walked right up to Elias and looked into his eyes. "You were younger, injured, but your face, your eyes, I remember them. You helped me. You gave me water. You protected me when I couldn't speak. Your language." She paused, taking a deep breath. "You saved my life." Elias swallowed hard. His own memories rushed back, half-faded images of a planet called Zephyr Prime, a mission gone wrong, a crash, the jungle, and a frightened alien child with strange markings on her skin. "I found someone," he said quietly. "She was hiding under a broken shuttle wing. I didn't know who she was. I just knew she needed help." Queen Shariah's eyes softened. "That child," she said, "was me." The nobles whispered among themselves, confused and worried. A royal memory like that tied to a human was unheard of. Shariah turned to them. "Leave us," she commanded. "All of you." "But, Your Majesty." A guard protested. "I said leave." The guards and nobles obeyed slowly, casting wary glances as they exited the throne room. Soon, only Elias and the Queen remained. For a moment, the great hall was silent. Then Shariah stepped down from the throne and stood beside him, no longer the powerful ruler, but just someone remembering a past she had buried. "I never knew your name," she said. "Captain Elias Vorn," he replied. "I was only 10 when we met," she said. "My escape ship was shot down. Raiders were hunting. Royal heirs. I ran into the jungle, wounded and alone. Then I saw you." "You were scared," Elias remembered. "You didn't speak. I thought you were lost. You made a shelter from leaves and metal scraps," she said. "Gave me food rations. You cleaned my wounds. You didn't ask who I was. You just helped." Elias smiled gently. "You looked like you needed a friend." She laughed softly. "No one on my world would have done what you did for a stranger."
"Oh."
"I didn't see an alien. I saw a child in danger," he said. The Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at him seriously. "Why are you here, really?" she asked Elias. Took a deep breath. "Because your warships are moving closer to our colonies. Earth is scared. I was sent to talk, to stop things before they go too far." "And they chose you?" she asked. "I volunteered," Elias said. "When I heard your name, something felt familiar. I didn't know why until now." The queen smiled sadly. "Fate is strange." She walked back to her throne, thinking. Finally, she turned around and said, "You will not be harmed while you are here. I give you my protection. Let the other leaders question it if they dare." "Thank you," Elias said, bowing again. But she warned, "Do not mistake this for weakness. Many here do not trust humans. If you wish to speak of peace, you must prove it with more than words." Elias nodded. "Then I'll earn that trust, just like I earned yours." The queen sat down. Her eyes stayed on him, filled with old memories and new thoughts. As Elias walked out of the throne room, his mind raced. She remembered him. She had become a queen, and now he might be the only one who could stop a war. Long before Elias Vorn stood in a royal palace, he was just a young officer with a kind heart and a mission gone wrong. It was 7 years ago. On a wild and forgotten planet called Zephyr Prime, Elias had been part of a Sochandra rescue team. A shuttle carrying scientists and civilians had sent a distress signal. But a sudden storm had knocked out their ship too, scattering the team across the jungle. Elias had landed hard, separated from the others. His arm was injured, his radio damaged, and all he had was a small survival pack and a medical kit. The planet was hot, the air thick with mist, and strange sounds echoed from the trees. But Elias had no time to be afraid. He had people to find. Wandered for hours, pushing through vines and giant leaves, careful not to make noise. The jungle felt alive, like it was watching him. Once something large growled in the distance, and he froze in place for 10 minutes, not even breathing. On the second day, just as the sun began to fall behind red clouds, he heard something strange. An animal growl, not the wind. It was a faint cry, small, weak, almost human. Elias followed it. He found a wrecked escape pod half buried in the mud. The metal was scorched, and one wing had snapped off completely. Smoke still rose from the engine. Cautiously, Elias stepped closer. That's when he saw her, a child Dalian, but not frightening. She was small, maybe 10 years old, with silver skin and long white hair that was tangled with leaves. Her arm was bleeding, and her breathing was shallow. She wore a torn robe with strange markings, the kind Elias had never seen before. She looked up at him, eyes wide and scared. Elias raised both hands slowly. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you." Of course, she didn't understand him. Still, he moved slowly, showing her the medkit, pointing to her injury. She winced but didn't run. Carefully, Elias cleaned the wound, wrapped it with bandages, and gave her a bit of water. She drank it with shaking hands. For the next few days, Elias stayed with her. He built a small shelter using metal pieces from the crash and nearby leaves. He made a fire with his emergency tools and shared his food rations. She didn't speak much, just pointed or nodded. But slowly, her fear began to fade. She never told him her name. To Elias, she was just the girl. He didn't care who she was, just that she was alive and needed help. One night, they heard ships overhead. Elias rushed out of the shelter and sent up a flare. He prayed it was a rescue team. It was not. Dark shadows moved through the trees. Raiders. Pirates who hunted crash survivors for parts and supplies. Maybe worse. Elias grabbed a broken pipe and stood in front of the girl, heart pounding. When the raiders came, he led them away, making noise, running through the jungle, shouting at them to follow him. Stumbled, fell, bled, but he didn't stop. He had to give her time to hide. Eventually, a real rescue team arrived. They found Elias half-conscious, bruised, and exhausted. He told them about the girl, begged them to find her. But when they searched the wreckage again, she was gone, vanished. Back in the present, Elias sat quietly in the guest chamber, given to him by Queen Shariah. It was a large room made of smooth, black stone with soft light above and plants hanging from the ceiling like green curtains. A single guard stood outside his door. His mind kept going back to those days on Zephyr Prime. He had saved a child, had thought about her many times, but never knew what happened after. Now he knew. She was the queen. There was a knock at the door. A royal attendant entered, bowing politely. "Her Majesty wishes to speak with you in the garden," the woman said. Elias nodded, rising to his feet. The garden was high above the city, filled with tall glowing trees and quiet pools of water. The sky above was filled with stars, and the wind was gentle and cool. Queen Shariah waited near a silver bench. She wore no crown tonight, only a soft robe and a thoughtful expression. "You remembered?" Leah said as he approached. She nodded. "It took me a moment, but once I saw your face, it all came back." They sat together, silence between them for a while. "I always wondered what happened to you," he said. "I was taken back to my people," she explained. "My family had been searching. When they found me, they swore me to silence. Feared if it was known that a human had saved me, it would be seen as weakness." "So you hid it," Elias said. "I was just a child. I didn't understand politics then. Okay. Only that a kind stranger had saved my life." She paused, "But I never forgot you." Elias looked at the stars above. "It's strange, isn't it? I thought I was just helping someone. I never imagined that I would become queen," she asked, smiling a little. He nodded. "I never imagined you would return," she said softly. Then she stood. Her eyes, strong and clear, met his. "You came here to stop a war. But the truth is, your presence has already changed something." Elias looked at her. "Then maybe there's still hope." "There is," she said, "but it won't be easy. Many do not want peace. They fear what it might cost." "And you?" Elias asked. "I fear losing what I found," she answered. The next day, the Virulent Palace was busy with movement. Servants rushed through the halls. Soldiers in shining armor stood at every corner. Whispered rumors floated in the air about the human guest, about the queen's sudden change in mood, and about the strange past they now shared, but not everyone was pleased. In a dark chamber beneath the main hall, General Kralvik stood alone. His armor was red and black, sharp like a blade, and his eyes burned with silent anger. He had served the Virulent military for 20 years. He had led campaigns, crushed rebellions, and protected the royal family, and now a human had stepped into the palace, and the queen had smiled at him. Kralvik's hand clenched into a fist. He turned to a small hologram on the table. A shadowy figure appeared, face hidden by static. "You said she would never trust the humans," Kralvik said. The voice on the other side replied, "We didn't expect the human to be that human." Kralvik paced the room. "She protects him. She remembers him. It's dangerous. She makes peace with Earth. All our plans fall apart." And the figure nodded. "Then the human must disappear, quietly, without suspicion." Kralvik smiled coldly. "Understood." Meanwhile, Elias was given a tour of the capital city, Virelos, by a young Virellan scholar named Lena. She was kind, curious, and one of the few who didn't seem to hate humans. "The queen told me to show you our archives," Lena said, as they walked through the glass tunnels that connected the palace to the city. Below them, flying transports moved between tall towers. Strange animals glided through the sky. Elias looked around with quiet wonder. "It's beautiful." Lena smiled. "Most outsiders only see our soldiers. They don't know we have artists. Thinkers and dreamers, too." They entered a tall white building filled with glowing scrolls, moving images, and shelves that reached the ceiling. Lena pointed to a corner. "That section holds the records of old conflicts. You may find something useful." Elias nodded. He walked slowly through the rows of information. Stories of past wars, treaties broken, and misunderstandings filled the space. He realized something important: many of the battles between humans and Virulans had started with fear, not hate. While he read, he didn't notice the small floating orb above a spy drone, watching his every move. That night, Queen Shariah met with her council. Around the large circular table sat generals, advisors, and ministers. Some looked calm, others angry. "We must speak plainly," said one noble. "Why is the human still here?" "He is a guest," the queen replied firmly. He is a danger, said General Kralvik. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but we cannot. Forget history so quickly. His people destroyed our outer colony just 5 cycles ago. We destroyed one of theirs 2 cycles before that, she answered. Must we count blood forever? Another minister spoke. What if he is here? As a spy? Shareya stood. Her voice was steady. I trust him. I remember what he did for me. I owe him my life. But more than that, I believe he wants peace. Silence followed. General Kralvik didn't speak again, but his eyes were cold. That night, as Elias returned to his room, he noticed something strange. His door had been unlocked. Carefully. He stepped inside. The lights were off, and the room was quiet. He reached for the switch, then froze. A shadow moved near the wall. Elias ducked just. As a blade flew past his head and struck the wall behind him, a masked figure lunged at him, fast and silent. Elias rolled aside, grabbed a chair, and used it as a shield. The figure slashed again, cutting through the wood like paper. Elias kicked out, hitting the attacker's knee. The figure stumbled, and Elias rushed forward, slamming him against the wall. The mask cracked, revealing the face of a hired mercenary, not VIR. Ellen, suddenly the door burst open. Guards stormed in, weapons ready. Queen Shareya followed, eyes wide with shock. Elias stood over the defeated attacker, breathing hard. Didn't call for help, he said. I was already coming, she said, stepping closer. I had a feeling. She looked at the attacker. Who sent you? The mercenary said nothing. Shareya raised her hand. A soft purple light flowed from her fingers into the attacker's mind. His eyes rolled back. A second later he whispered, General Kralvik. Queen's face turned to stone. Later, Elias sat with a bandage on his arm in the Queen's private chamber. I'm sorry, she said quietly. You were supposed to be safe here. I've faced worse, Elias replied. But now you know someone wants to stop this peace. I always knew, she said. But now I know who. Elias leaned forward. Then we fight back. Dot. With weapons yet but with truth. She looked at him. What do you mean? We expose him, use his plan against him. Make him show his true face. The Queen smiled slowly. You think like a Virulon. I think like someone who wants to stop a war, Elias said. Shareya nodded. Then let's begin. The royal palace of Virulos prepared for a special event, the Unity Feast. It was a tradition held only once every 10 years, where leaders from across the Virulon Empire gathered to share words of peace, honor their ancestors, and drink from the sacred chalice. This time, for the first time in history, human had been invited. Captain Elias Vorn stood in front of a tall mirror in his guest chamber. He wore formal robes gifted by Queen Shareya herself, dark blue with silver lines, matching the royal colors. He still wasn't used to the alien style, but he looked dignified. More importantly, he looked respected. A soft knock on the door brought him out of his thoughts. It was Lena, the scholar who had guided him before. They're ready for you, Captain. Are you nervous? Little Elias admitted. It's not every day a human walks into a room full of alien generals who don't want him there. Lena smiled kindly. Just be yourself. That's what won the Queen's trust. He followed her through the glowing hallways toward the banquet chamber, unaware that danger waited ahead. The Unity Feast was grand. A long table stood in the center of the golden hall, with dishes from every Virulon province. Strange fruits, steaming roots, and sweet-smelling sauces filled silver plates. A floating orchestra played calm music, and soft lights danced on the ceiling. Queen Shareya sat at the head of the table. When Elias entered, all eyes turned toward him. Some stared with suspicion, others with curiosity. Only the Queen offered a smile. Welcome, Captain Vorn, she said loudly. Not fear, not fear. Stories, not threats. You are honored here. He bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I am humbled. They all sat. Conversations began slowly. Elias tried to stay calm, answering questions from nobles and advisors. Most were polite, some cold. But the Queen's presence gave him courage. Midway through the meal, a silver servant brought a tray with a single golden chalice. It was the drink of honor, symbol of peace. Shariah stood, lifting the cup. As tradition commands, we offer this drink to our honored guest. May this mark the beginning of understanding between our peoples. Everyone watched as Elias stood, nodded respectfully, took the cup. But as he raised it to his lips, his fingers shook slightly. The moment the drink touched his mouth, Elias felt a sharp heat rise in his chest. He coughed once, then again. The room began to spin. His knees weakened. He dropped the cup. Gasps filled the hall. Captain Vorn. Shariah shouted, rushing toward him. Elias fell into her arms, his skin pale and breath shallow. Call the royal healers, she commanded. Now, guards ran out as nobles stood in confusion and fear. One minister whispered, was he poisoned? Another growled, by who? Within minutes, Elias was taken to the royal medical chamber. Strange machines surrounded him, scanning his body. The head healer, an old Virilan with glowing hands, worked quickly. Queen Shariah stood beside the bed, her face tight with worry. What's the result? She asked. He was poisoned, the healer said grimly. A slow-acting compound from the deserts of Tovik, very rare, very deadly. He's lucky he drank only a sip. Can you save him? The healer nodded. But it will take time. And care. Shariah looked down at Elias. His eyes were half open. He tried to speak, but no sound came. She gently touched his hand. I'm here, she said. Rest now. You're safe. Later that night, the queen met privately with Lena in her war chamber, who prepared the drink. Hira asked. Lena opened a report. Only to servants. Had access? One of them disappeared right after the ceremony. And the other? In shock? He said he saw General Kralvik speaking with the missing servant yesterday near the kitchens. Shariah's expression turned hard. It's him again, she whispered. He's trying to silence Elias and make it look like a human trick. Lena stepped closer. What will you do? The queen looked at the star map on the wall. I'll protect Elias, the same way he once protected me. And then, I'll expose Kralvik for the traitor he is. The next morning, Elias slowly woke up in the healing chamber. The first thing he saw was Shariah sitting beside him, her face soft with relief. You made it, she said gently. I feel like I swallowed fire, Elias whispered, his voice weak but steady. She smiled. Better than not waking up at all. He looked at her, confused. Who would do this? Her face grew serious. One who fears peace. Someone who sees your presence as a threat to their control. Kralvik, Elias said. She nodded. I thought I was careful, he whispered. You were, she said. But this was not your fault, and now I will make it right. She stood tall. I have a plan. The Virilan palace was quiet, but Queen Shariah's mind was filled with noise, thoughts, doubts, and plans. Elias was healing, but the poison had changed everything. The empire now stood at a dangerous crossroad. If she remained silent, her people would be led into war. But if she spoke too soon, the traitors might strike again. She needed to be clever, careful, but also bold. And so she made a decision in a private chamber. Shariah met with her most trusted advisors, Lena, the head healer, and Commander Solon, a loyal general. I want the court to believe Elias is being sent away, she said. Solon frowned. Exiled. Only in appearance, she explained. We'll tell the people that the human envoy violated tradition and must return home. But in truth, he will stay hidden here, under guard. Lena understood. You want to use his departure to catch Kralvik. Shariah nodded. If Kralvik believes Elias is out of reach, he'll feel safe. He'll lower his guard. That's when we strike. Solon still looked unsure. It's a risky plan. All great changes begin with risk, she replied. The next day, a royal announcement was made. Captain Elias Vorn would be sent back to Earth under escort, exponed after his unintentional insult during the Unity Feast. The statement claimed that while the Queen still believed in peace, tradition had to be respected. The news spread fast. Some nobles cheered. Others were confused, and Kralvik smiled. Finally, he muttered, "One problem gone." It was a lie. Elias never. Left deep inside the palace, in a hidden chamber protected by ancient tech, Elias lay on a medical bed. His strength was returning. His voice was stronger now, and his mind clearer. Queen Shariah came to see him. Wearing her ceremonial armor, a mix of dark silver and midnight blue, glowing softly in the light. "You made the court believe I was exiled?" Elias asked with a small smile. She raised an eyebrow. "Do you not approve?" "I think it's brilliant." She smiled too. "Good. Then I'll need your help for the next part. Tell me what to do." That night, in the royal garden, a secret meeting was arranged. Kralvik believed it was just another discussion with a group of nobles who supported him. He had no idea that the queen herself was watching from the shadows, along with Elias, hidden behind a screen with a listening device. Kralvik spoke proudly. "The human is gone. The queen is weak. Soon we will vote to remove her power. Once I sit on the throne, we will crush Earth's colonies and remind the stars why they once feared us." One of the nobles asked, "What if the queen fights back?" "And even if she does," Kralvik said with a grin, "she has no proof, no witnesses. Just old feelings and useless peace talks." He laughed, but he didn't see Lena recording everything from a hidden drone above. Later that night, Shariah and Elias watched the full recording. "It's enough," Elias said. "This will expose him." Shariah nodded. "But the people must see it for themselves. Not just words in a report. We'll reveal him in front of the entire council. And if he resists—" "I'll be ready," she said, placing her hand gently over the small weapon at her side. The next morning, the great council was called. Every noble, general, and leader from across the empire gathered in the sky, hall tall. Open chamber with floating platforms and energy bridges. Kralvik stood with pride. Thinking the council would soon turn against the queen, Shariah entered slowly, wearing her royal crown and robes of judgment. "Today, we speak not of war or peace," she said, "but of truth." She raised her hand, and a large holoscreen lit up in the center of the chamber. The recording played. Kralvik's voice filled. The room gasps, murmurs, angry voices. Kralvik's face turned pale. "This is a trick," he shouted. "The human is gone, poisoned himself to cause chaos." At that moment, Elias stepped onto the platform. The chamber went silent. Kralvik's eyes widened in shock. "He's alive." Someone whispered. Elias looked at Kralvik. "You tried to kill me? You tried to kill peace?" Kralvik drew his blade. "Then I'll finish what I started." He rushed forward, but Shariah moved faster. In one smooth motion, she blocked his strike with her royal staff, spun it, and knocked his weapon from his hands. The energy from the staff crackled as she pointed it at his chest. "No more lies," she said coldly. "You are finished." Kralvik was arrested. His allies fled or surrendered. The council voted to remove all who had supported his betrayal. Queen Shariah stood tall before her people. "We nearly lost our future because we listened to fear," she said. "But this human who once saved a child without knowing who she was has now saved us all." Elias stood beside her quietly. "This is the path forward," she continued. "Not war, but trust, not power." Later that evening, as the stars rose above Varellos, Elias and Shariah walked through the royal garden. "Your people believe in you again," Elias said. "They always did," she replied. "They just needed a reason to remember." "About us?" he asked softly. She looked at him with a smile. "Perhaps it's time to stop remembering the past and start building something new." The stars above Varellos glowed brighter than usual that night. The city was alive with quiet celebration. People lit floating lanterns in the air, letting them rise into the sky, a symbol of letting go of pain and choosing peace. But inside the palace, the real work had just begun. Queen Shariah stood before her royal advisors. The chamber that once echoed with suspicion now held a new energy hope. Her voice was calm but firm. General Kralvik and his allies have been judged. Their positions removed. Their power broken. But that's not the end, it's only the beginning. We now stand before a new path, one that demands more than silence and survival. It demands unity. The nobles nodded slowly at first, then with growing agreement. We must speak to Earth, to the allied systems, she continued. With truth, not weapons. Captain Elias Vorn will be our bridge. All eyes turned to Elias, who stood beside her. Still recovering from the poisoning, his skin was pale, but his voice was steady. I'm no hero, Elias said. I'm just a man who saw someone in need and acted. I believe there are many like me on both sides. People who want peace, who are tired of fear. Shareya placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Then let's begin together. In the days that followed, messages were sent across galaxies. The Queen's speech, along with the proof of Kralvik's betrayal, was shared openly with Earth and nearby systems. At first, there was silence. Then, something surprising happened. Earth responded not with warnings or suspicion, but with thanks. They offered a formal alliance meeting. They even invited Shareya to visit their capital in person. It was a historic moment. For the first time, the Verlin Queen would walk on human soil. Preparations began at once. A royal ship, shaped like a silver wing, was prepared for the journey. Inside, only a small group would travel. Queen Shareya, 2 trusted guards, Lena the Scholar, and Captain Elias Vornau, her official envoy. Before they left, Shareya visited the royal garden one last time, the same place where Elias once told her, I thought you were just a scared child. Now she smiled at the memory. Elias joined her, holding a folded piece of cloth. What's this? She asked. He opened its inside. It was a faded patch from his old uniform. I found it in storage, he said. The one I wore when we met on Zephyr Prime. She took it gently, her fingers tracing the letters. You kept it all these years? Couldn't forget you, he said. She looked at him with soft eyes. I never forgot you. The journey to Earth took 2 days. Through quiet space, past glowing stars and silent moons, the ship moved smoothly. Elias gave Shareya a small tour of human culture photos. Music, stories. This, he said, playing a soft piano tune, was written on Earth over 400 years ago. She closed her eyes, listening. It sounds like longing and hope. What peace feels like sometimes, he said. When they arrived on Earth, crowds gathered in the capital city of New Geneva. People stood in silence as the Queen's ship landed. News channels broadcast the event live as Shareya stepped out in full royal dress. Elias beside her, the humans clapped, not out of fear, but out of respect. A formal greeting was held in the Earth Council chamber. The human president stood before the Queen. Your Majesty, the president said, for years our worlds stood apart. Today, because of one act of kindness long ago, we stand side by side, Shareya replied with pride. Let this be the beginning of a new age, not written in war but in friendship. After the meeting, Elias stood outside on a balcony overlooking the sea. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the waves. Shareya joined him. So this is your home, she said, looking at the horizon. One of many, he replied. But this view always reminds me why we fight for peace. She looked at him, quiet for a moment. Do you regret it? Regret what? Saving me? All those years ago? He turned to her. Never. If I had to go back and do it again, Nevin. Knowing nothing would be easy-eyed, still give you that water. It'd still help you. She stepped closer. Even if you didn't know who I was. He smiled. Especially then, 'cause that's what made it real. There was silence between them again, but this time it was full of emotion, not uncertainty. She touched his hand gently. You once said I looked like someone who needed a friend. I did, she whispered. And now, he looked into her. Violet eyes. Now I see someone I trust. Someone I admire, she smiled. And let's carry this trust into the future, together. That night, as stars filled the Earth's sky, People across both worlds slept with a strange feeling they hadn't known in years. Hope, and far above them. Two leaders, one human, one Varellan, stood side by side, remembering a broken ship, a jungle, on Zephyr Prime. It's in a simple act of kindness that changed everything. It all began with one choice, one moment, and from it, a future was born.